Chuck E. Cheese was a pretty surreal place for a kid in the 90s. For suburban kids, this place was peak sensory overload. Insane colors, the sound of dozens of arcade games going off at once, pizza, but perhaps most of all, seeing these things perform music for the first time is almost certainly going to be a formative experience whether you wanted to or not. If you think about it, this is likely many children's first experience with the confusing fear of the uncanny valley and the way robots both succeed and fail to recreate human emotion. And in my opinion, it is always such a shame when they come up with characters like these and they don't leave us at least some kind of direct-to-video cartoon or movie of something. And many might assume that Chuck E. Cheese was one of those companies that dropped the ball. But not so. In 1999, Chuck E. Cheese not only made a little movie, they did the unthinkable by talking Funimation into making a live-action mini-movie for them to distribute at their locations. Now this is super weird because Funimation is still like the #1 American distributor of anime, and except for this bizarre tape, anime is the only thing that they've ever done. Also, Funimation was a pretty early company at this point, and they were not in the business of making pretty much anything. They just bought anime rights and dubbed them.
Plus, most of the freaks who come in here hate women, so seeing girls degraded gives them boners and makes them happy.
Voice actor Duncan Brannan must have been the guy that made this happen. He's one of the many recurring voice actors for Funimation, but had a legendary stint around the time this was made where he did the voice for both Chuck E. Cheese and Barney, interestingly enough. I mean, it had to have been this connection that talked Funimation and a handful of other voice actors to help knock out this nonsense video for them to sell, despite not having any of the real resources to make live action productions. And now, as a result of that strange collaboration, we have an obscure Chuck E. Cheese tape featuring some of the most prominent voices in big name anime. So swallow your pizza and wash your hands. We're gonna watch Chuck E. Cheese in the Galaxy 5000. Okay, these happy adults are taking me right out of this movie because there's no way the adults in a Chuck E. Cheese are this happy to be there. This isn't communicating how many times those children have came back smelling like other children's sweat, shaking them down for more tokens. In fact, once the big characters show up and start parading around, even the children seem a little too cool with what's going on here. I can imagine how much better this probably would be if these kids had a little bit more of a realistic reaction to these animals parading through the scene. But let's just ignore that for a minute and just enjoy this MIDI music.
Thanks for coming.
Hey, Pasquale.
Hi, Pasquale.
I think you all know a Charlie Rocket.
Yeah, hey, sure, we've seen him around the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Chucky! You're cold, Chucky. You could have hid that better.
Well, actually...
He need the cash. Not the deer. He need the cash.
Okay, this seems
Why
suspicious.
didn't you say so? Come on, gang, cough it up. No holding back.
Alright, now we can stop right there. Where are his parents? Out of everyone here at this table, surely, like, the big hairy man walking in with an unsupervised boy is, like, the most concerning choice they could have made. Okay, Pasquale is definitely shady, okay? But I don't think this kid is innocent either. Like, listen to his plea and tell me if he sounds like a kid in trouble or a kid conning for more tokens.
It's for my aunt and uncle. See, they're farmers. Their tractor's engine blew up and, like, it's harvest time. And they're in a terrible fix because my dad says it'll take $50,000 to buy a new tractor.
I didn't really want to go down this train of thought, but I find it very interesting, like, the one human of the group is the one impatiently helping this kid shake down our Chuck E. Cheese stars. Which, like, calls to mind a whole other issue. Why are the star performers of Chuck E. Cheese this broke? Are they being paid? Or is, like, Pasquale like a true villain that gets around labor rights by not only forcing freakishly anthropomorphic animals to perform and advertise for him, but also points them out as easy targets for extortion to his patrons? Having non-human characters in children's media is almost necessary at this point. What isn't necessary is doing what this movie does, which is bring an uncomfortable amount of attention to the differences in species.
You know, I saw a help wanted sign down at the Chicken Palace.
I don't think so. Oh, where do humans get off anyway, eating poor little defenseless birds? Are they crazy? Where would they be without their eggs for breakfast every morning? And how do they repay us? By giving us the deep fry? Oh!
I wonder what Helen's eggs taste like. Probably huge. Chuck E. Cheese just open for breakfast.
Miss Helen, as a member of a non-human species, I can't relate.
Yeah, right, Mr. Man's best friend.
Is this a social allegory right now? Is Chuck E. Cheese doing social allegory? You know, and like any good businessman, instead of making a tax-deductible donation, he suggests that they all try to get prize money from an intergalactic race that he apparently used to compete in.
The Galaxy 5000 is an interplanetary race on the planet Orion.
Now that the prize of money she saws are high, the racing is a much faster and more cutthroat.
This is just making me feel like he's like straight up trying to get them killed right now. This is like the classic David and Uriah bit. And you know, and they almost have an honest moment and like think about risking their lives right now until Bozo Chucky here tries to sing everyone into going against their better senses.
What's that smell? I smell adventure!
You know that Jasper is like the only one that has any good sense, and of course, he's going to get unfairly pegged as the buzzkill simply for not wanting to risk his life for a random kid.
How come common sense goes flying out the window every time he sings a song? Brother.
You know, like I bet there's some other kids in there right now being forced to dance for this video that have money problems too, you know. And of course, Shady Pasquale conveniently has an interdimensional travel device under his pizza place. But at the very least, this is now where we get transported to a beautiful chromaverse. A magical world where the actors can explore fantastic places, all while staying in the same room using the power of green screen and CGI. I appreciate this because this was made towards the end of a pretty magical era where CGI seemed like enough of a technological achievement for people to not like fully realize how weird and surreal it really was to watch. You know, another thing that'll make your movie a lot more surreal is stuffing a bunch of sexual tension between the chicken and the mouse in your movie.
So, Helen, what do you think of my new racing uniform, eh?
Oh, Chucky, you look good in anything.
Ooh. Hi.
Ooh, Chucky. What's Jasper saying?
I don't know.
Ooh, it's like Dan Schneider's furry phase. You know, as if that moment's supposed to loosen us up, we're about to meet our antagonists, the X-Fighters. Because once they come into the picture, things really kind of get out of hand, I'll be honest. You know, we can just like ignore the fact that they may have killed a journalist in plain sight for asking about cheating.
Can you two comment on why you were disqualified from the race last year for cheating?
You shouldn't have asked that.
Yeah. That was rude.
Man, did you see that?
Because to me, something much more important is going on with this shot. I mean, like, am I the only one who finds something just like a little bit gratuitous about this? I don't know what I'm supposed to feel, but what I am feeling is this is Right Said Fred at their most erotic. And it's not just this shot. These guys are so consistently charged with inappropriate levels of frightening sexuality.
Hey, Chicky, how would you like to roost at our pod?
Yeah.
You buffed out buffoons can go jump in the lake for all I care.
What?
You heard me. You're a couple of buffed up buffoons.
Step aside, puppy.
Yeah, dog man, we have to teach this little chickie a lesson.
And that transition from seduction mode to violent mode is sort of traumatizing, especially when they're really going out of their way to make this point clear.
You wouldn't hit a lady, would you?
Sure.
Yeah, a lady, a doggy, whatever.
Again, this is what makes this movie special. There's all sorts of nonsense that happens in kids media that we can just ignore because we suspend our disbelief watching that kind of thing. But this movie is like, yes, I, a spandex-laden man, had the full intention of assaulting a female. And in case you were wondering, I'm capable of animal abuse too. But then this scary Tom Wolfe-looking guy shows up and tells him to save it for the race, which really robbed us of the moment we were kind of all excited for, I think.
Oh, shit! What? God damn it! What?
So it's like Pasquale has this plug that's supposed to hook them up with a racer named Flapjack, who I feel like only continues to verify that Pasquale is sending them on a death mission, because this guy does not seem very stable. Plus, he's been keeping the prize racer unprotected behind some curtains, and it's clearly been stripped by local thieves.
Just look at that beauty!
This man is so delusional he doesn't even realize it. Somehow, trying to fix this ransacked spacecraft you've never seen before is easier than fixing the broken tractor. But that whole situation gets interrupted because just when you started to get limp, this movie knows exactly when to turn the horny levels back up.
Is this your jet racer?
No, it belongs to a friend.
Good.
Oh, yeah, actually it does.
Oh.
Wow, Chucky, way to show the kids how to polish a life for the ladies.
Race car drivers are so cool.
Don't worry, I got it.
No, I got it.
Yeah, wait, Jet.
No, I've got it. Here, I'd appreciate it if you kept this to yourself.
Excuse me. I didn't know that you were taken.
Oh, you mean Helen? Oh, she's just a friend. You know, she's like one of the guys. Right, Helen?
Okay, we gotta ask, who's right here? There doesn't seem to be any agreement between anyone at this point that Chucky and Helen are an item, right? In fact, now that I think about it, your coworkers, Helen, honestly, all things considered, like looking back, like these moments feel a lot more like sexual harassment than anything else. Where do you get off being this rude to this woman anyway? And where do you get off walking like that in any context whatsoever, Helen? You know, and on that note, I am sitting here defending Astrid, but there really is a lot to still wrestle with when considering a fling between a fully human woman and an anthropomorphic mouse. You know, we have like some somewhat stable ethics around animal-human relationships, but like Chuck Entertainment Cheese is something else. Like, is he more human than animal? And not only did we have to witness all that, we also have to listen to Helen pour out her feelings in song.
Can't he see the real me? How can he be so blind?
Hey, she's giving me Jodi Arias vibes, and we have to try to empathize with this.
Oh, Chucky, what's a little hint to do?
In fact, she like straight up continues her tantrum all the way through the next morning when everyone's getting ready to start the qualifying races.
Hey guys, have you seen Helen?
Nope.
Wonder where she is.
We haven't seen her since she left all mad yesterday.
But look, these guys are worried about her and they're about to risk their lives. You know, but everyone's here. The ex-pilots are getting pumped up. The gang is getting ready to try and drive a racer that was previously inoperable for the very first time.
We just need to take her for a test run. There's no time for that. The race is about to start. Get in, guys. Oh, man.
And Flapjack is helpfully reminding them how deadly this could be.
And what's the last 3 miles of the course? They're through Dead Man's Canyon.
Gotcha.
And honestly, this is like a pretty perfect shot because it looks like the child Charlie's in the back in a car seat. So the race starts and Jasper nearly kills himself with exposed frayed wires coming out the floor.
Okay, just relax. Hang on a second. Let's put these...
That was more upsetting than it needed to be. But then things start going well for the team, and the X-Racers start talking about this thing called Zoom gas.
It's just Mousie's tailpipes.
Yeah. Here comes the juice.
Are they getting high right now? Is that what's happening? These guys are straight up hotboxing in this Chuck E. Cheese movie. Okay, is this something you've seen before? Obvious drug use in a movie that's like blatantly targeted towards 5-year-olds? It's not just performance enhancing, like they're clearly high. And then we kind of have to address how suspicious Flapjack's advice to wait to go the high speed until the very last part.
Chucky, the ex-pilots never engage in Vega 2 unless they're near the finish. So take it easy at first. Get used to how she handles.
What's the last 3 miles of the course? They're through Dead Man's Canyon.
Gotcha.
All right, look what happens.
Ah, look out!
This mouse just had a vision of hell. last time I saw something so unnerving? Like, this stupid mask can't emote, so we have just frozen smiles seeing the hellish afterlife. Any doubts I had that these two are conspiring to end this naive mouse in an accident are gone. But they do survive, and everyone goes to what's honestly like the most lit soda shop I've ever seen. Like, first of all, I want to talk about the surreal qualities of this ultra budgeted green screen world. Like, these fake wide shots of this with seriously so much happening in these locations is probably the wildest example I've seen of this technique. And then they have like all these different groups of people in random whatever was available costumes sitting at the table. And they're just like the same table, but they're just keyed across this cartoony Pulp Fiction club with actual children seriously breaking it down on the dance floor to otherworldly tunes. And then there's Chuck E. Cheese's big stupid head sticking out mourning his loss.
I just couldn't hold that Vega 2 speed.
And you won't believe who walks in the doors. No! You know, this movie was already towing the line with its subversive eroticism, but seeing Helen do her strut in between these two men in particular.
Maybe you could say that today's race separated the mice from the men.
Yeah.
Like, this is the exact wrong moment to be making those species distinctions. And can we acknowledge how savage this whole situation is? More like Cucky cheese, am I right? You know, and while I've supported Jasper's more practical approach so far, I have to say this moment really probably wasn't the best moment to have a country western musical number about their failure.
There ain't nothing we can do. We got a snowball's chance in Texas to win this race.
Like, can you imagine being Chuck E. Cheese and being surrounded by people doing synchronized dances to a song sung by one of your best friends about your future failure after being shamed for your species by a chicken trying to cuck you on purpose? But, you know, maybe seeing the CGI melting ice cream was worth it. Maybe I'm the immature one, but after seeing all this, any moment that has any remote sexual interpretation is gonna be ruined for me now. Like this next scene, Helen goes with the ex-pilots to their lair, and the prospect of them boning is just too palatable.
We use it as a gymnasium.
Yeah, and as a bachelor pad.
Yeah.
Ooh, groovy.
She thinks it. Yeah.
Gross. Then they leak what we already know, which is that they use performance-enhancing drugs to win their races. Oh, come on, they just finished the song like 3 minutes ago. Then in a twist that just feels really surprising, even though at this point it shouldn't, we find out they make Zoom gas from liquefied chicken.
Guess the main ingredient? I doubt you could. It's extract of chicken and it's finger licking good!
Gross.
Zoom gas, just a squirt in your face!
Dude, stop!
And you can win the race.
In short, you will be reduced to juice.
I mean, okay, take a step back. You have two men who have invited a chicken back to their home to try to have an interspecies threesome with the intention of later killing her and to turning her into a synthetic drug so you can get high so you can cheat in a race. Like, these are probably the most efficient degenerates ever. Back to Chuck E. Cheese, he's getting ready to try to conquer this challenge.
Chucky, wait, don't go off alone. It's not safe.
Safety, right. You know, but as we've seen, Chuck E. Cheese doesn't really have a particularly good cognitive ability to measure risk.
Well, then I'm coming with you. Sorry, Jasper. This is something I have to do alone.
A few moments later.
Okay, you can call me unheroic if you want. If you sign up to compete in a high-speed race without any practice whatsoever, and you almost kill yourself the only 2 times you try to drive the vehicle, don't you think it might be time to rethink your plan a little bit? But actually, he's fine and wakes up in this cave, which actually has some pretty dreamy PS1 vibes. And who does he wake up to but this guy, who you might notice is actually the exact same actor who plays Pasquale, except he's doing a comically over-the-top Irish impression now to make sure that they're like covering as many of the have-nots of European immigration as they can.
Oh, you crashed all right. Why, that jet racer of yours nearly took my head off.
And, you know, he actually has some comically sound advice to give.
What the kind of training did you do?
Well, I didn't do any training. I
You sort of hopped in and went for it.
And so this leads to, a nice traditional training montage with yet another musical number, which actually just kind of looks a lot like him tormenting Chucky in ways that couldn't possibly improve his racing skills much, except for maybe what looks like a guided ayahuasca trip. We cut back to the rest of the group, and Jasper's cutting the news that Chucky is probably reliving 127 hours right now. And then Astrid does what we kind of all knew she would do all along, but sheesh, this is kind of getting depressing. Again, in terms of this Helen and Astrid story arc, it really isn't that easy to find a traditional children's moral lesson in this, is there? In fact, I don't really know what else there is to see in this bit other than Chuck E. Cheese is kind of learning that these hoes ain't loyal.
Please, girls, I'm working as fast as I can.
See, here we go again. I don't like to nitpick, but this is a problem for me. I just don't want to have to keep thinking about what the hell is wrong with Helen to make her like this when they keep pointing out that most chickens are normal chickens. This is more egregious than the Pluto paradox. What the hell do you think these chickens are thinking right now? Is this the Nephilim? And so she shows up and says, oh, this was actually all about me just like secretly finding out their trick.
Oh,
hey,
Chucky.
Helen!
Oh, Chucky, I didn't really like those guys. I was just trying to figure out if they were cheating.
Oh, it's okay, Helen.
But it's too late. I've already been traumatized. And the bottom line is, none of this was really that necessary, okay?
Today's race separated the mice from the men.
Chucky is as unfazed as ever at the prospect of facing two drug and sex-fueled maniacs on the track.
Those X guys inhale something called Zoom gas. It helps them to see better when they're going Vega 2 speeds.
Really?
So, can Chuck E. Cheese and the gang get this scheming kid 50 grand so he never has to worry about tokens again? Well, I'll be honest, if you're thinking it ends any other way other than them winning and having another over-the-top song, you're wrong. Okay, now let me stick up for this movie a little. These promotional type videos are always able to depict culture in a way that just doesn't show up in better planned and funded movies. This actually felt a lot more like a bunch of adults who are given just like the bare minimum of equipment and gear and permission to just have fun. And their idea of fun was having Germans getting high on chicken vapor and women thirsting for a mouse. I mean, it's a success in my eyes.